are 15 treasures that ordinary people have found buried in their own backyards, and any one of them could be in yours. And tonight I am going to count them up from the small everyday finds that turn up in flower beds every week of the year, to a discovery at number 1 that was worth millions and was made by a man in a field with a metal detector he had barely learned to use. Every single one of these was found by an ordinary person, not an archaeologist, not a treasure hunter with a research grant. People digging a vegetable patch, laying a patio, clearing a hedge, walking a paddock. The ground under your feet has been used by somebody for a very long time, and people have been losing things, hiding things, and burying things in it for the whole of that time. My name is Malcolm Ashby, and I have spent 50 years digging in gardens, which means I have turned up a fair amount of other people's history without ever once going looking for it. That is the honest truth of this subject. Almost nobody who finds something significant was searching for it. They were putting in a fence post. So the useful skill is not luck, it is recognition, knowing what you are looking at when it comes up on the end of the spade, instead of tossing it on the rubble pile, which is where most of it goes. Let me say one thing, and then I will not bring it up again. Every plant I know, its look-alike, and what it is worth in dollars, I have put into one book. On page 31 there is a weed that grows in most backyards, that people spray on site, and that replaces the $5 tea they have been buying for years. It is at the backyardgoldmine.com, and the link is under this video. If you want it, it is there. That is all. Number 15. Clay pipes. Those little white clay stems, like a piece of chalk with a hole through it, are probably the most commonly dug-up historical object in the English-speaking world, and almost everybody who finds one throws it away thinking it is a bit of old plumbing. It is a tobacco pipe. From roughly the 1600s to the early 1900s, pipes were cheap, disposable, and broke constantly, so they were dropped everywhere by everyone. A plain stem is worth a couple of dollars and is mostly interesting rather than valuable, but a complete bowl, and especially a decorated one with a face, a regiment, a Masonic emblem, or a maker's stamp on the heel, sells to collectors for $20 to $100 and sometimes considerably more, and it dates your soil for free, which matters for everything else on this list. Number 14. Old bottles and the bottle dump. Almost every house built before about 1920 had a rubbish pit at the bottom of the garden, because there was no collection, and everything that could not be burned went in a hole. That is why bottles come up so often. Most are common and worth a few dollars, but the good ones are properly collected. Coloured glass, cobalt blue and amber, embossed local dairies and breweries, poison bottles with ribbed sides so you could feel the danger in the dark, and the cod bottles with a glass marble in the neck, which children broke by the thousand to get the marble, making intact ones scarce. A rare local example can bring several $100s. If you find one bottle in a corner of the garden, dig gently, because you have very likely found the dump, and there will be more. Number 13. Marbles, buttons and toys, the small change of ordinary life, and the reason they come up so often is obvious once you say it. Children played in gardens, and children lose things. Handmade German glass marbles from the 1800s, with the twisted coloured ribbon inside, sell for $10 to $100 apiece, and rare ones for much more. Old buttons of bone, brass, or mother of pearl, military ones especially with regimental designs, have their own devoted collectors, and lead toy soldiers, dug up bent and corroded, are still worth something to the right person. Individually, these are small money. Their real value is that they tell you people lived and played on your ground, which is the strongest hint there is to keep looking. Number 12. Horse brasses, harness fittings, and old ironwork. If your property is anywhere near an old lane, farm, or coaching route, the ground will hold metalwork. Horse brasses, those decorative discs from harness, are collected and readily sold. Hand-forged nails, hinges, latches, and blacksmith work have a real market with restorers, and old tools turn up constantly. What I want you to take from this entry is a rule that applies to everything metal tonight. Do not clean it. Every instinct will tell you to get the wire brush out and make it look nice. Resist. Aggressive cleaning strips the surface, destroys the patina, and can take most of the value with it, and on a coin it can take nearly all of it. Number 11. Fossils and worked flints. Depending on where you live, your soil may hold things far older than any building on it. Fossil ammonites, shark teeth, sea urchins and belemnites turn up in gardens all over the world, and a good specimen sells for tens to hundreds of dollars. More interesting still are worked flints, stone tools, arrowheads, scrapers, hand axes, which are recognizable once you know the trick. Look for a deliberate edge, a series of small flakes struck along one side, and the smooth curved dimple where a flake was removed. Natural stone does not do that. An arrowhead is often the oldest thing anyone in your family will ever hold, and in most places it belongs to the landowner, which is you. Number 10. Single old coins. These are the most common metal find of all, and the value is a wide spread. A worn Victorian penny is worth $1 or $2, but a silver coin from before the 20th century, a Georgian sixpence, a Roman silver denarius in a European garden, an early American large cent, can be worth $50 to several $100s, and the condition and the exact date decide it. 2 rules, both learned the hard way by other people. Never clean a coin, because a rubbed coin loses most of its collector value in the 10 seconds it takes to rub it. And photograph exactly where you found it before you move it, because if a second coin turns up nearby, you may not have a single loss on your hands. You may have something considerably more serious, as you are about to hear. Number 9. Jewelry, both lost and hidden. Rings, brooches, lockets and pendants come out of lawns and flower beds every week. Most of them lost by living people or their recent ancestors, some of them very old. This is the category where I would remind you of the first honourable step, which is that a modern ring with an inscription in it very often has an owner or a family who is still looking for it, and returning one is one of the better feelings available in life. Where the piece is genuinely old, gold and gemstones survive centuries in the ground, looking remarkably well, and values run from the hundreds into serious money. Silver goes black, which fools people constantly, so anything blackened and heavy deserves a second look rather than a bin. Number 8. Wartime and military relics. And this entry carries a warning I want you to take completely seriously. Cap badges, buttons, dog tags, helmets, mess tins and insignia all turn up in gardens across Europe and America and are properly collected, with badges and identified items bringing hundreds. But if you turn up anything that could be ordnance, a shell, a grenade, a mortar bomb, anything cylindrical and heavy with rings or fins, you stop. You do not move it, you do not carry it into the kitchen to photograph it, and you do not put it on a shelf, which people genuinely do. You go inside and you telephone the police, and they will send the appropriate people, and they will not think you are wasting their time, because unexploded ordnance turns up in gardens every year, and it is still perfectly capable of doing what it was made to do. Now, a quick word before we go on. Most of the people watching this channel are not subscribed. If you enjoy finding out what old and ordinary things are really worth, press subscribe. It costs you nothing, and you can always change your mind later. Right then, the top 7, where the finds stop being interesting and start changing lives. Number 7. Old glass, pottery, and stoneware jars. Blue and white pottery fragments come up in every old garden. And while a shard is worth nothing, an intact piece is a different matter. Stoneware ginger beer bottles with the local brewer's name, salt-glazed jars, and complete Victorian and earlier ceramics run from tens into hundreds of dollars. And there is one category of pot worth knowing about that turns this entry into something stranger: witch bottles. These were charms, bottles filled with pins, hair, and rather less pleasant things, buried under thresholds and hearths from the 1600s onward to keep bad luck out of the house. They come up during renovations. They are of real interest to museums. And if you find one under your doorstep, you have just met the anxieties of somebody who lived where you live 300 years ago. Number 6. Bulk silver. meaning not one coin, but a handful, or a spoon, or a bundle. The moment a garden produces more than one silver object, everything changes, because a single lost coin is an accident, but a group is a deliberate deposit. Silver spoons, thimbles, buckles and vesta cases are found regularly and bring good money on their own. But if a small group of silver coins comes out of one spot, stop digging immediately, and I will explain properly at number 2 why stopping is worth more to you than carrying on. Number 5. Gold coins singly. A single gold coin in a garden is not a common event, but it is not a rare one either, and it is worth many hundreds to many thousands of dollars depending on age, ruler and condition. Gold does not corrode, so a coin that has been in wet clay for 400 years comes out looking almost as it went in, which is a genuinely startling thing to watch happen. A Tudor gold half-sovereign found by a woman weeding a border, a gold guinea in a vegetable bed, an early American gold piece under a hedge. These are single object finds that can be worth more than a car, and every one of them was in soil that somebody had been walking over for generations. Number 4. Roman and ancient metalwork. Across Britain and Europe, and with equivalents worldwide, ordinary gardens sit on ground people occupied 2,000 years ago, and what survives best is bronze and copper alloy. Brooches, buckles, harness fittings, figurines. A Roman brooch found in a flower bed is a genuinely regular occurrence, worth hundreds, and something like a small bronze figurine can be worth thousands. What makes this category matter is that these objects are informative as well as valuable, which is exactly why the reporting rules exist in most countries, and why a find recorded properly is worth more, both in money and in what it tells everyone, than one quietly pocketed. Number 3. The hoard of coins. This is where backyard finds become newspaper stories. People buried their money because there were no banks, and they buried it in a hurry when something frightening was coming. And if they did not come back for it, it is still exactly where they left it. Hoards turn up in gardens, paddocks and field corners every year across the world, and they run from a few dozen coins in a broken pot to many thousands. Values start in the thousands and reach the hundreds of thousands. And here is the rule that decides how much your hoard is worth, so remember it if you remember nothing else tonight. The moment you realize you have more than one coin from one spot, you stop. You do not dig on. You do not empty the hole. You do not tip everything into a bucket to count on the kitchen table. You photograph it in place, you cover it, and you report it. In the UK to your local fines liaison officer under the Treasure Act, in the US and elsewhere according to your local law and, if it is not your own land, always with the landowner. A hoard excavated properly, with its context recorded, is worth far more than the same coins in a carrier bag, because the context is a large part of what museums are paying for. Number 2. Gold jewellery and ancient goldwork, which is the summit of what most garden finders will ever encounter. Bronze Age gold torques, twisted neck rings of astonishing weight, Anglo-Saxon gold and garnet brooches, medieval gold rings with inscriptions inside them. These are found by ordinary people in ordinary ground with regularity, and their values run into the tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars, with important pieces beyond that. Gold survives everything, so a piece made 3,000 years ago comes out of a hedge bank bright enough to make the finder sit down in the mud, which is a thing that has genuinely happened more than once. Under the treasure laws of most countries, a find like this is valued independently and, when a museum acquires it, the reward is typically shared between the finder and the landowner, which is why doing it correctly is not merely the honest route, but usually the profitable one. Number 1. The Staffordshire Hoard. And I have saved it because it is the perfect illustration of everything tonight. In July 2009, a man named Terry Herbert, unemployed, with a second-hand metal detector he had bought for a few pounds and had not owned for long, was walking a newly ploughed farm field in Staffordshire with the farmer's permission. He began finding gold, not one piece, piece after piece after piece. What he had walked onto was the largest hoard of Anglo-Saxon gold and silver ever discovered, over 4,000 items, sword fittings, helmet fragments, garnet-inlaid goldwork of a quality that changed what scholars believed about 7th century metalworking. It was valued at £3.25 million, and because he did the correct thing, reported it, and the excavation was done properly by archaeologists, that money was shared between Terry Herbert and the farmer who owned the field. 2 ordinary men, 1 ploughed field, a few £1,000,000, and an entire chapter of national history rewritten. And here is the detail that should keep you looking at your own ground with a bit more respect. That field had been ploughed for decades. Farmers had walked it, tractors had crossed it, generations had looked at it and seen a field. The gold was 8 inches down the whole time. So that is the ladder, from a clay pipe stem worth a couple of dollars to a field in Staffordshire worth millions, and everything in between found by people who were not looking. If you take 3 things from tonight, take these. Do not clean anything, ever, because cleaning is the fastest way to destroy value. Stop digging the moment a find looks like it has company, and photograph everything exactly where it lies, and report properly, according to the law where you live, and with the landowner's knowledge if the ground is not yours, because the correct route is nearly always the more profitable one as well as the right one. Whatever you do, don't throw it on the rubble pile until you know what it is. If tonight has you eyeing your own vegetable patch differently, press like before you go. It truly tells me to keep making these, and subscribe if you have not. Then tell me down in the comments, what is the oddest thing you have ever dug up in your own garden? I read every single one, and in 50 years of digging I have never yet heard the whole list. Go and have a proper look in that garden. You never know. See you next time.